Hello everyone and welcome, good afternoon, to our third day of National Work Experience Week. It is flying in. I am Andy, as you know, from Career Map TV, and today we're joined by the team at NHS to discuss empowering independence, supported internships and steps to success. Remember, this session is recorded, so if you do miss anything, don't worry, it will be uploaded to our website and our YouTube channel respectively. There'll be a Q&A at the end of the session as well, so if you have any questions, leave them in the chat and Q&A box, and we will return to them at the end of the session. So without further ado, I'll pass on to the NHS team to continue.
Hi everyone, I'm Kate Newton. I'm from Choices College. We were formerly known as Project Choice. However, we've just rebranded as we are now part of NHS England. I'm Employer Engagement Lead for the national team. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our programme. I'm going to show you a video firstly that's going to kind of outline all of the wonderful work that we're doing. This is one of our cohort teams that are in Gateshead, and there are a couple of students that are on this video that we're going to talk to you a bit more about after the video.
Hi, I'm Catherine Castley, a Learning and Development Facilitator within the Learning and Development Department here at Gateshead Health NHS Foundation Trust. For over 6 years now, Gateshead have worked in partnership with Health Education England, offering placements to students from across the North East, aged between 16 to 24 years with learning difficulties, learning disabilities or autism. The programme itself supports the NHS People Plan and also supports our workforce. It champions not only an inclusive workplace, but also a better place to work.
As a fairly new manager, this is my first experience of working with the Project Choice team. We currently have 4 students on placement within catering. They have all had superb starts to their work placements. The students have fitted right in and don't add any additional pressures to my team at all.
I have supported the Project Choice programme for over 7 years. We currently have 4 students with us on the Work Experience programme. One of our past students, Treacle, went on to become a member of our admin bank, working in the Trust 3 days per week in our department. Recently he applied and was successful for additional bank shifts in our very busy emergency care centre. This was to broaden his skill set, and he has now expressed an interest in full-time permanent hours within the referral and booking centre.
I have supported the Project Choice programme for over 4 years. I have always found the students great to work with, always punctual, full of enthusiasm and have a thirst for knowledge.
Gateshead have successfully supported over 30 students across the Stage 1 Work Experience programme in various departments throughout the Trust. We have also employed 3 students from the Project Choice programme who are now an integral part of the Gateshead family.
I found out about Project Choice through my brother because he did it first. I was unemployed and on benefit, and I thought I would give it a go.
People need to understand that learning takes time, but it does not mean that a person with a disability cannot do it. People with a disability can be really good at what they do and help out the team a lot.
I never thought that I would work at a hospital, but here I am. I work in the clinic preparation office.
What I have learned is no matter what disability you have, you are always the person that knows yourself the best.
The departments who support the students have reported it has given current staff development opportunities in mentoring and supervisory roles. The staff feel by supporting the student, it can provide diversity of thought and encourage positive team working and engagement. The programme is fully supported and funded by the Education and Skills Funding Agency.
So you've seen a bit of a video, but what is Choices College? You'll have seen there again that we all of the imagery and the mentioned Project Choice. We're moving forward as Choices College. So if I do trip up and call us Project Choice, please forgive me. It's a very, very new change. But essentially we're a specialist college. not like a college that you may have attended before, but a college that provides tailored educational support, work experience, and then a supported internship course. So all of our young people are aged between 16 to 24, and they have a learning difficulty, a disability, or autism. We partner with NHS trusts, and it's quite misleading, some of this stuff on here, only because we do partner with NHS trusts to provide work experience, but not just that. We partner with lots of private businesses nationwide, just to create those valuable work placement opportunities. We base our placements on the individual's need and the individual's interests. So it's not necessarily an NHS placement you might go into. You can see a couple of photos on here of students actually working in dog grooming, or it might be in retail, nurseries, schools, the world's your oyster. We look at that person-centered approach and find out what our interns are reaching for in their careers. But luckily, because we are NHS staff and we are hosted by NHS England, we do have a lot of NHS trusts willing to work with us over many different types of placements and departments. All of our funding for the college comes from ESFA and our local authorities. So with all of our students on our Stage 2 programme, all the students do have an educational health and care plan from their local authority, and that's how we establish funding for their place on the course. So our approach to our college is, you can see the circle there. This is the person right in the middle, and all the things around them. So we individually plan. We have a vocational profile for each of our students, so that we know that their needs educationally, in the workplace, and anything that they've got going on at home, so that we make sure that we individually plan for that person, that they have everything that they need around them to be successful. We provide a tailored support to each individual as well. So whether that person needs one-to-one support in the classroom or in placement, we will provide that, but we make those assessments based on their reviews, their educational healthcare plan, and what we've heard from their schools and colleges as well that they've come from. Moving on to education, how our college works is our students come in only one day a week into a classroom setting. In that time, they are studying maths and English, functional skills to the next achievable level. However, if you're one of those lucky people who've already achieved GCSE maths and English, you get to be exempt for that part of the day, which causes much jealousy from the other students. But the other half of the day, we complete what's called employability skills. And what that means is we are making our students ready and to be employable and to go out into the world of work. So our classroom sessions are based around professionalism, communication, managing conflict, writing CVs, doing mock interviews, and having all those skills ready so that you do feel ready for employment. Our curriculum is an NCFE in employability skills, and we do that from entry level 3 right up into level 2 based on what we think that the student is able to achieve, but we do stretch and challenge where we can. We teach an ESFA approved study programme, and it is accredited. Moving on to work placement, as I said, it could be an NHS work placement, it may be a private business work placement, but those other 4 days of the week that you're not in the classroom, we would put people out on work experience placement so that they've got real, live, practical work experience in a business. We regularly check in on that student in the work placement that they're on, and as you can see there on the next hexagon, there's a mentor that's established for each student within that workplace, so that we can they are fully trained to be able to deal with that student's needs. We do give extra support wherever needed, so that might be something like a job coach, and that is somebody who would go to work placement with that student to make sure that they were fully engaged, that they were meeting the targets, that they were alleviated of any anxiety and troubleshooting any problems that they might have, whether that's communication within the workplace or, as I say, managing the worries and anxieties while they're there. And the staff on the ground go in and do progress reviews to make sure that the students continuing to meet targets. Not only do we do that, and it's not all work-based, we do ensure that our students focus on their social inclusion. So whether that's workplace inclusion and giving the public more experience of working with people with learning difficulties and disabilities, and educating those businesses to support those people and make reasonable adjustments so that students can meet their potential and also to have longevity in employment. But we also, as a classroom, as on our days at college, we make sure that the students are socially included by going out on days out, money management, ordering in restaurants, that sort of thing that some people find really, really difficult to, those hurdles to get over. So once that you have increased your confidence in that way, it does make it a million times easier to get a job. We're not a siloed service, and our staff refer learners on to other support services, whether that's in the local authority or whether it's mental health services. So we make sure that we're working with a lot of external partners so that our students are fully supported. But the aim, and this whole aim, is to give students if you see the yellow ring on the outside there, choice, employability, independence, support, opportunity, and communication. So we want the students to be able to go forward in their careers when they're no longer in a fully supported environment, to feel that they can be successful. This is our model. So the stage 1 part right at the bottom is work experience. So that's mainly what we're going to be talking to you about today. And my other colleagues who are going to be talking shortly are part of the work experience team. This starts when the student is already at school or college studying, but they want to get that element of work experience. So the school support them to work with us on 1 half-day placement per week for 6 weeks, which is coordinated through them. But we source the work experience placement, and we do the full support of making sure that the students reaching their targets. And that's what we call our foundation pathway. That can last for a term. Some students have gone on to continue for a bit longer if we feel that there's areas that they could challenge themselves, or if they're really particularly enjoying that placement. But the aim is that they will be exploring options for them for the future in their career. And a lot of our students then do go on to that stage 2, the pre-entry level pathway, which is, as I said, the 1 year full-time education. They come to us for a full year, academic year, starting in September, ending in July, for a 1 day a week in the classroom and up to 4 days in 3 12-week placements. Typically, that's a placement between September and December, January and April, and then April and July, and rotate around those different options and choice in placement. Once we got to the end of the year, a lot of our students go on to the stage 3 part. So hopefully paid employment, if that's what the intern is after. Not everybody wants to do paid employment. Not everybody feels that that's something for them, but they want to do meaningful volunteering in something that interests them. They may want to go on to an apprenticeship, or they may want to go on to another type of mainstream preparation for work. We have had some students then go on to university after they've been with us, because the programme only has given them a little bit of idea of what they want to do in the future, but they've gained that bit of confidence as well. So why do people choose Choices College? So why is it in place in the first place? So it was shown in the base in a base assessment that only actually 4.8 of adults with learning disabilities aged 18 to 64 are actually in any sort of paid employment, which I'm sure you can agree is a very, very low amount of people in that group. And that might be because a business or an employer is limiting the opportunities for people with learning difficulties to access employment with them. It may be because of confidence of people with learning disabilities and their ability to access skills and training. But we found that in supported internships, it increases self-determination, confidence, participation, reciprocal relationships, and social inclusion in the workplace. So that's why we continue to do what we do and encourage more people with learning disabilities, autism, physical disabilities, to be able to get those work experience access. As part of our stage 1 provision, as I spoke about, our work experience, we do offer preparing for adulthood sessions. And before you even would get to that stage 1 of doing the practical work experience, we feel it's really, really important for from year 9, year 10 to start those little conversations about where students might want to take their career in the future. So as part of our college offer, we come into classrooms in schools to offer free PFA sessions to schools within the regions that we cover. We work with schools to tailor lessons to the learner needs. These sessions that we've done recently with a school in the Northeast have been covering professionalism, CV writing, interview techniques, budgeting, finance, confidence, and we've done things like mock interviews for the students where they've been able to interview each other. We've talked about dream jobs. What does it take to achieve your dream job? What skills and qualifications would you need to do that? How do you set yourself up on a career path? So it's not a set curriculum. We can work with any schools to come in and work with the learners where they feel that there's some need. But that's part of our Preparing for Adulthood offer, and it's available for any schools in our regions to be able to access before committing to doing the stage 1 work experience. So I'm actually going to hand you over to my colleague Abby, and Abby's going to talk to you about SpringPod, which is a virtual work experience platform that we came up with in COVID when it was very difficult for us to get our interns out onto placement.
Okay, thank you, Kate, and good afternoon, everybody. Just to let you know, the questions in the chat, we will come back to them. So this is SpringPod. I'm going to share my screen to show you how our work experience works virtually. Okay, just minimize that and I hope everyone can see. So you'd get a login, and this is completely free of charge to everybody. You can have as many logins as you need. We are on hand. I'm a work experience lead, so we are on hand to support you throughout your time with us and throughout your time on the program. So virtual work experience is a good starting point for people that want to come onto the face-to-face work experience, as it's a good introduction to what our work experience will look like. So I'm going to play this quick welcome video.
I don't think we're seeing any video at the minute. It's just showing the don't forget to complete these.
Oh, let me just.
There we go.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, that's perfect. There's also no sound.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to just leave the video as it is. It's just a welcome video, and just to show you who the same actor goes throughout the whole program. So that way you've got that consistency, especially for young people that have special additional needs. It's quite important to have that consistency. So I'm going to show you the rest of our program. We have 13 modules throughout. The SpringPod modules. You do not have to complete every module on here. It can be done in a tailored way, so you can choose and pick which modules are more relative to yourself or to your students. So the welcome module is just an introduction and letting you know what to expect. Module 2 is more in depth, and it's got various activities and quizzes throughout. Module 2 starts with understanding the world of work. And again, you've got a video in there to just kind of welcome you to that module. You've got a range of activities and explaining different work opportunities within the NHS. Like my colleague said, not all our work experience is within the NHS. Some are in private businesses, such as the entertainer's toy store. Okay. I'm just going to quickly show you one of our quizzes. So this one here, get into work. It's got a range, it's got 3 different parts to it because we try to cover not only the London transport system, but other parts of the UK that might use trams and metros and things like that, just so that it's a bit more relative to everybody. Just making sure you can see it. So this is what the quiz looks like. It's something that can be completed individually or it could be done in pairs. Okay. Okay, so this is the second quiz. And then throughout module 2, you've got other activities such as personal hygiene sessions. So these can be used within school sessions, colleges, just so that the lessons are kind of planned in a way that it could be followed systematically. Okay, you've got things like money management, thinking about different payment options, budgeting, planning and saving, opening a bank account. So all of these are just a way of preparing the young people before you go on to physical work experience and possibly the internships as well. We've got sessions on here about professional boundaries, knowing how to behave within the workplace and how to interact with various people that you might come into contact with. And again, because young people are obviously constantly in school and don't have the exposure to work with adults or a range of professionals, it's quite important to get this embedded before going out into physical work experience. The same guy in our video. And then there's also an NHS quiz, just again, because we predominantly work in the NHS, this just kind of gives you a background and some more detailed information about the NHS. All the quizzes are really interactive, brightly colored, so that way it keeps everybody engaged as they're completing it. We like to celebrate every time that you complete a quiz or every time you complete a module, just to give you that continued encouragement throughout the program. Okay. We've got a module on well-being and mental health as well. I think I saw in the chat somebody said they like working with animals. So we've also got a module on animal care, child care as well. And this just goes into the different roles, the professional behaviors, uniforms, the skills that will be required for the different roles as well.
Abby, sorry to interrupt. Are you on the share screen? Because I can just still see the travel part.
Oh, I don't know what's going on.
There you go. Brilliant. If you could go back to that NHS quiz for us, sorry, from before, just have a look. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, is that better? Can you see the NHS quiz?
Yeah, we can see that now.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So this is the NHS quiz that I was talking about, and it is interactive and brightly colored, as you can see. And again, you can work with a partner, or it could be something that's done as a whole class. And then right at the end, you've got a well done screen just to keep you going and keep you engaged throughout. We like to celebrate and we don't like to make anyone feel bad. So we've chosen the language on SpringPod quite carefully. So you would never get a screen that says wrong or you've got this wrong. It would usually be well done, you've completed this section, congratulations. So that way it's a positive learning platform. Okay. I'll just show you an example of a module complete. So this is the screen completing module 2. As you can see, module 2 is quite extensive, so it can take some time. So depending on which modules or which sections you want to work on, this can be, you can pick and choose to suit yourself. I want to go back to that animal care section. Okay, just because I saw somebody in the chat said they would like to, they were interested in animal care. So we have a range of different animal care roles and this module goes through the responsibilities, uniform, the roles that are included, and the type of skills that might be needed within that job role. Again, this will include an activity. Yeah, an interactive activity, and then at the end you've got your congratulations screen as well. When you move on to module 13, module 13 is congratulations right at the end, and you're able to download your own certificate, or you can reach out to us and we will get the certificate for your young people along with some goodies to celebrate that they've completed the module. In order to understand our model, we also have included some next steps, and the next steps goes into a bit of detail about the face-to-face work experience, as mentioned by Kate, which is the half day for 6 weeks. So that goes and gives you a good explanation of how that works with us. Then you've also got an explanation of our supported internship as well. So how our supported internships work, and what you can expect to have during the supported internship as well. The large majority of our young people, once they complete our supported internship, do go into full-time work, full-time employment in the NHS or outside of the NHS as well. I think I've gone through all the major ones. We have one more module here, module 9, which includes education at school. So giving you some English and maths activities and explaining how English and math skills can be used within the world of work. So for example, using English skills such as sending emails, sending letters, writing emails to colleagues, or writing emails to external partners. So this is a very good module that just kind of prepares the young people and for employability skills as well. This module includes activities which can be downloaded. It's a Word document, and it can then be modified to suit the individual or to suit the young person that's completing the task as well. Okay, I think I've gone through the major modules, so I'll just stop sharing there and pass on to my colleague.
Thank you, Abby. That's great. So we're just going to go on to some impacts. I know that I've seen a few things in the chat about do people go on to paid employment? So in 2020, 2021, 50% of our interns actually moved on to paid employment, apprenticeships or volunteering. 40% went on to some sort of further education. So I was saying about university and things like that. Out of those interns, 35% went into NHS specific roles, but 65% went into local and private businesses, because realistically, there's only so many roles within the NHS that are advertised out there. We don't want to pigeonhole anybody into needing to go into the NHS. However, it is really good that we do have those NHS links, because lots of the skills that you're learning on placements are really transferable. So 540 hours of education were delivered to each of our 160 interns that year in 15 areas across England, with a 93% course completion rate, which is fantastic. 93% of our students reached that 540 hours of education. It is 15 areas there. We are actually extending out our reach. So our geography for our college, it is national, but we do have little cohorts within each of our regions. So we have regions, we have cohorts in Northumberland, all across the northeast. We also have cohorts in Teesside, in Lincolnshire, in Birmingham, in Manchester this year, all across London, Sheffield, Doncaster, Portsmouth. So we do have a wide reach, but in actual fact, in each of our areas, we have a small group of students of around 12 students per cohort, in order that we can best support each student. I know I said before, we support our partners and everybody in our that provide our work experience placement by training all of the staff, whether that's NHS staff or not, to be mentors. We create bespoke roles and responsibilities within those organisations so that students' skills are best matched. So where somebody might want to be to pursue a career as a nurse in future, we wouldn't necessarily have them in as being in a nursing role, but we would say what parts of that do we feel like that they would be able to manage and have responsibility for, but that it's also challenging them. So we'd carve them out a little role within that nursing sector. We conduct weekly or fortnightly reviews of progress to make sure that everything's in place for each of our students. We may ask a job coach to go along with the student if we felt like they would needed extra support to work alongside them whilst they're there. But all students and employers have direct contact to local Choices College leads in their area. It has a benefit because at NHS Trust because it meets the talent for care agenda and it increases employment for vulnerable groups. It's brilliant that we can have work experience students going in to support that already stretched NHS workforce, and we found that so much within COVID as well, that without our students being there because they weren't at that time able to be on placement, our trusts that do work with us really felt the difference of not having those work experience students there. We've increased a lot of our placements after COVID when we have gone back into the NHS because they're seeing how valued our students are. With local authorities, it means that they can transition really, really fluidly and well through our work experience provision. Those students then get to know who we are whilst they're still at school and college and can transfer over to our supported internship really, really smoothly. Local businesses and national businesses both are training and meeting the requirements of a disability confident employer commitment. They're given free training on disability awareness. They strengthen their corporate social responsibility. We give them support and access to work applications. So for anybody who does have a special educational need, they're entitled to access to work through the Department for Work and Pensions to put in reasonable adjustments within and places of employment so that they can continue to do their job. So support goes on and on through a life of somebody who has a special educational need. But this is the real stopgap between college and employment that we can give you the real support to continue your journey. So our support has no costs to businesses, schools or colleagues. Colleges. Our education is delivered in-house by our own education team, and we are flexible on our work placements between the NHS and external partners, same as we are flexible to move people around and rotate if they don't feel like they're really getting out of it everything they wanted to. So a couple of case studies. I know that there's a bit in the chat there about different types of roles. So Dom Kane is a student that came to us in 2018. Before he came to us, he actually only had 13% attendance at his college. He absolutely hated being in a classroom. He absolutely hated attending every day. He didn't really see the point in him being in education, and there wasn't really a lot of hope for his future of what he would be able to do because his parents and the school didn't really feel like he would be able to hold anything down. He came to us and within a few weeks, he was already absolutely flourishing in his job as a porter at North Tees and Hartlepool Foundation Trust. So he moves patients on beds and chairs around the hospital. Is that point of contact for them to move them around between the different departments. He took that to like a duck to water, and straight away after he left us, he transitioned on to paid employment doing that same role and has held that down since 2018. He's now got his own home. He's in a successful relationship. He's confident. He's got workplace friends. He plays football with those colleagues outside. He never ever in a million years thought this would be him. But now, even further, he's now a role model for our new interns. So the work experience interns, you can see on that bottom picture there, they've just gone in September, and Dom has become a central contact for them if they have any issues or concerns while they're on placement. So it's absolutely brilliant to see the change in him and what he didn't think that he would be able to achieve to what he is now. Nathan is another one of our students that came to us with a lot of issues medically. He has cerebral palsy. He has global development delay, which means it takes him a long time to learn new tasks. He's got speech and language issues, and if he is feeling under pressure and nervous, it really impacts on his speech. So he can't communicate very well if he feels under pressure. He did want to work in the NHS, and the reason for that is because he said, I've spent so much of my time in hospitals and dealing with the NHS that I'd love to be able to give back and feel part of doing something positive. But he was really, really nervous about the thought of going out and talking to patients every day. So we, first of all, introduced him to the hospital environment by having him in the post room. So he wasn't face-to-face with any patients, but he was in that hospital environment. After he increased his confidence, we moved him somewhere a little bit busier, and he has to move to a ward. He was so valuable being a ward assistant that he was actually encouraged to apply for a job there really, really quickly, and they job carved for him. So the parts of the job that he found difficult because of his disabilities and his medical limitations, they carved out away for him, and they give him other things that he could focus on. So we focused on stock replenishment, cleanliness, meeting and greeting, moving people through the different departments, really, really that first face that you see when you go on to A&E. He's also called upon to leave the department to collect things or to go on errands for the staff. If in our NHS, it's obviously so busy that is absolutely invaluable to the staff team there. He was supported at his interview by his familiar mentor, and he was given reasonable adjustments to make, notes to take into the interview, so that it could assist him in asking questions, and he absolutely scored a brilliantly interview. Our final case study is from Connor. Connor was actually still at school and was 17 when he came to us on work experience. And so he was doing that for that half day a week for 6 weeks, like I mentioned earlier on. He was doing that whilst he was continuing to study at college. But he ended up doing it for a lot longer because he really relished in the role that he was doing. He worked within a hospital facilities team in the transport department, taking care of all of the patient transport services, cleaning, so you can see him there, cleaning the motorbike, restocking the ambulances and making sure that those ambulances were ready to go out quickly to those really poorly people. Connor absolutely smashed his placement. The mentors were so impressed with him. They themselves got invigorated by having somebody new that came in with fresh eyes and a different approach to the work. And they asked us if he would be interested in having a paid job within the team, even though he was only 17, even though he hadn't gone through college yet. But it wasn't for Connor. He didn't want to go to college and continue to study when he already knew that he was loving this idea of being at work. And doing something in the NHS. So he went straight into a paid job and did 20 hours a week. Moving on from that, I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Laura, who's work experience lead in the north of our region, and she's going to talk to you about those students that you saw at the start in the video who did work experience in Gateshead Hospital.
Thanks, Kate. Hi everyone. So I've been a part of the college for 8 years and have been in this role for 5 years, and I must say it's the most enjoyable role that I've had, working with young adults who are still in school and colleges and guiding them through the world of work. The two students I'm going to be talking about are the students that were part of the video at the very beginning. They started with me on work experience while they were still in school. I guided them through. They had their 6 weeks placement. Treacle, in fact, stayed a little bit longer in his placement because he thoroughly enjoyed it. So they transitioned from stage 1 work experience through to the internship and are now employed with the Gateshead Trust full time. This isn't just about gaining the skills. It's about sustaining the employment as well when they do get a job. I asked the students a few questions about their journey, and here's some of their answers. Reese, actually, who works in the medical records department within the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, is now mentoring my stage 1 students that are on placement. He does mention that he struggles a little bit with his communication, that he found it really difficult to talk on the phone, to speak to other people. But me and Reese now work closely together because he's a mentor, and he confidently gives me a call if there's any issues with students. We keep in contact with emailing each other, and his confidence has grown so much. Reese is now going in to buy his first new home on his own. He's so independent. Sometimes the hospitals say they can't actually get him out of the hospital, and at times he is doing overtime at the weekend and night shift, but he absolutely loves his role. Treacle as well. He actually started off quite young in his school, working with me, and was on work experience at Bensham Hospital, which is part of the Gateshead Trust. And he thoroughly enjoyed that. And the manager of that department seen potential in him from the very beginning. They in fact asked him if he wanted to stay on during school for the half a day of week, and he'd done many weeks in placement there. Treacle then progressed on to the internship and did various placements and still kept his time at Bensham Hospital. He also worked throughout the whole of the pandemic when he was part of the bank, covering staff shifts, even covered shifts on A&E emergency reception. He did mention that he struggled quite a bit with socialising and not being able to start conversations and things, and now he actually comes and helps us and supports us with a lot of events like what we're doing today. He now also mentors students in Bensham Hospital. He has mentored stage 1 students and stage 2 students. We asked them what they thought they were going to be scared of about employment before coming on to Choices College, and it was just the fact of people not accepting them. They felt like they were going to have to overcome a lot of barriers and face a lot of anxieties around the world of employment. They didn't know whether they were going to like it, or if the people were going to like them. But a lot of the mentors grew with the students. They learned about the students' needs and supported them into the employment, which in fact is quite good when a lot of the students think that they're not good enough for the work. They actually can show them that it does work, and if you've got the time and patience, these students can flourish in placement. So we asked them, do you think completing work experience before being employed help colleagues around the understanding needs and to give you better support? Both students answered these very honestly. So they understand the difficulties or things you might struggle with, and they are able to work around it and give you support. Some of the students might not be able to do certain aspects of a task, so it's about giving them the support to get through that task. The mentor training works really well to help the mentors guide the students through their working morning, especially on the stage 1 work experience, because a lot of these students have only maybe had work experience within the school. So it could be in the school canteen or in the college office. They've never actually been out and done it in an external placement, whether it be NHS or one of our companies we work with. Students become part of the team and get accepted as a part of the team. It's not all about that's the student with the disability. It's about being a part of the team. We also, do you think work experience can be just as important as qualifications to be ready for a job? Reese and Treacle said that qualifications can't make you feel ready for the practical environment like work experience. You can work out what your skills and interests are as you are learning. Some of my students really wanted to become something. One of my students in the past really wanted to work in catering and thought catering was the job for him. And he joined a catering team within a hotel and he did a 6 weeks placement. When he left, he said that catering was not for him. He did not want it. It was too noisy. It was too busy. And he was so happy that he'd at least tried it so that he knew he could cross that off the list and say that wasn't for him. And that's absolutely fine. We did try and find him another placement somewhere else, which is what we do and how we get this experience for the students. It helps you grow into work as you go. And I love that saying because it's actually learning on the job and getting the skills and showing these staff mentors what you can do at work. Staff in schools and colleges have seen a huge improvement of students who have gained work experience. It can seem not a lot, half a day a week for 6 weeks, but from the beginning, you can see how fast they progress, whether it be with their communication skills, they open up a lot within the team, they make a lot of friends within the team, and going back to school, they talk about it to their friends, to their teachers, and are already in line trying to choose the next placement that they want. So the teachers see a huge improvement in the students because a lot of these students don't really like the academic side of things. So getting them out there helps them improve. The work experience benefits all students. I've worked with students who are really low level in education, and I've worked with students who are highly qualified. And you can just tell how much it helps with their confidence and with their communication skills. And it's worked with a lot of different students from when we first started back up after the pandemic. So from February to July last year, there was a huge impact of students who hadn't had any work experience for such a long time. Me, I don't like saying no, accepted these students, and just in that short period of time, I worked with over 50 students, getting them work experience, because a lot of them were due to finish school and college and hadn't had any work experience and didn't know what they wanted to do. So it does work really well. And thank you to Reese and Trigal for sharing their story. I'll pass back over to Kate now.
Thank you, Laura. Were there any questions from anyone? I know that we've got some at the side there. I don't know if Robert is...
We'll crack on into them, shall we?
Yes, please.
So, got quite a bit to get through. Let's see. Let's start off with Kira says, how does an internship prepare you for a career in the healthcare industry, and what key skills do you gain?
It depends on which sort of department and service that you're interested in going in, but regardless of the department and service, what I would say was the main key skills that you gain is communication. Anybody who finds communication difficult with people within the NHS, you are in a caring environment. You are with people who are there to care for others, and that understanding of people and the need to care for people. They are going to take their time with you. They're going to listen to you. They're going to give you the reassurance that you need so that you are able to communicate them without feeling like you are going to be judged, or that you're going to feel that you're going to be sort of a burden on anybody. Our NHS staff who work with us, our mentors, are incredibly patient and incredibly kind with all of the students that we have. So communication is increased because of that understanding from the staff team that we have. I would say that the other thing is professionalism. The NHS is an extremely kind of professional environment. There's a lot of policies and procedures to follow and basic mandatory training that all of our students get. That mandatory training as part of their placement with us. So you get to see what it's like to work in those professional environments and those sort of health and safety, any infection prevention control, fire, information governance. You get all of that fabulous mandatory training that all of the NHS staff do. So being aware of those sort of things and that being in that professional environment. But as I say, it depends on which department that you you choose to go in to give you the skills that you wanting to do for what you wanting for the career that you're looking for. There's no department in the NHS particularly that's off limits. We go in and work with our partners within the NHS to find placements that are appropriate for our students. So we've had people in those patient-facing roles that we saw with portering, admin, but some of the weird and wonderful ones that you don't think of. So it might be the sterile services department where they clean and sterilise all the surgical equipment for operations and theatre. It might be in the mortuary services, dealing with obviously patients that have maybe passed on. It's some very, very strange, weird and wonderful jobs that come out of it. Or it might be transport. It might be that we were talking about Connor earlier on, actually dealt with vehicles. So somebody who might be interested in working in vehicle maintenance wouldn't think necessarily to go to the NHS for a job. But there are those elements that need the services within the NHS that deal with vehicles, or the services that deal with carpentry or painting and decorating. It's not just about doctors and nurses in surgery. It could be a lot of weird and wonderful things that then are skills that you can transfer onto another role outside of the NHS if you chose to.
Amazing answer. Thank you very much. There you go, Ciara. A lot of transferable skills are available. Bree says, how do you think working in the healthcare industry differs from other fields? I guess you've kind of answered half of it there.
Yeah. So as I said, I think it's the type of staff that we do work with, because especially if you do have a learning difficulty or disability, there's the staff there have already kind of well versed with dealing with the patients and colleagues that already have those needs. So I think as somebody who has special educational needs, the NHS is an absolutely fabulous place to work, to feel supported. I suppose we're always going to need our NHS, we're always going to need healthcare services. So there's that element of security of working within a healthcare environment, that you know that we're always going to need it, and it's not an unstable type of business. And the training and progression that people go through. I started off in the NHS straight out of university as a Band 2 admin. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure what career I wanted to pursue. But I've been very, very lucky to enter onto lots of different training and lots of different courses and secondments and trial placements, I suppose, myself, to be able to choose what I wanted to do going forward. And that's how I've ended up in my position. So I would say getting into the NHS can lead you anywhere, and it's not just about going into a job and staying there forever. They will give you the training and support to be able to achieve what you wanted to.
Great. Amazing. Imani now says, how many people that do this end up in employment after? So what is the employment rate after?
So before COVID, which stopped everything, we had a 65% transfer rate onto paid employment, which is fantastic. Bearing in mind, we had that statistic earlier on that was 4.8% of adults with learning difficulties do get paid employment. So obviously that's a vastly better statistic. It went down slightly during the pandemic and after the pandemic to 50%. But still a fabulous statistic, but we are hoping that next year's statistics are going to rocket back up to that 65%. But again, that's not just paid employment. It may be going on to an apprenticeship, and it's not just within the NHS. That's employment into any paid employment, whether that's private business as well.
Perfect. Great stuff. Charlotte says, as a senior pupil with autism, can I work up the ladder still at the NHS?
Yes, so we actually have colleagues with autism that work within our college that have worked their way up for the NHS. One of our area managers, who's a Band 7, he is autistic. Working in the NHS myself, I think it's wonderful now to see how many advocates we do have for autism, and how many the discussions kind of opened up to talk about the fact that people do have a lot of neurodiversity. So having autism will not stop you achieving what you want to achieve within the NHS. I mean, in businesses particularly, I think that if you can get the right support, but within the NHS specifically, because our occupational therapy team are so fabulous. They will work with employers to say, right, because of this person's autism, this is the things that we're going to adjust and change and make reasonable adjustments within the workplace to ensure that they can still continue to do their work. So the only thing that stops you getting a job in the NHS is your own motivation. If you are motivated enough to achieve it, the support is there for you to achieve up the ladder as far as you can go. My audio went off there.
Oh, sorry. Do you offer continued support after the program finishes then?
Yeah, so some of the students that I've supported when I started in 2018, I still have regular checkups with them, even though they have transitioned onto paid employment, because perhaps they may want to change roles and they want advice about changing roles, or they want us to talk to their mentors about something they're struggling with, or it may be that they are wanting a little bit of advice of what further training to do. Or they come to us to want to do, like Laura had said earlier on, some of the awareness events about our college. We invite all of our ex-students to come along to those. So we do say we will keep in contact with all of our interns for about 5 years after they've transitioned off on a program, and that they have our numbers and they're on. They can call us anytime.
Great, that's good news. What about for, say, there's not many people, like there's a comment here saying they're in Derby and there isn't any opportunities there for them. What about, would you help in offering relocation services?
So we have to have our cohorts set where the local authority will work with us. So that is increasing every year. So when I started and Laura started, it was actually only in the NHS in Gateshead and in the Sunderland areas, and then it kind of grew out of there. And since I've been in the service, I think we've taken on 18 from probably about 3 cohorts. So every year more cohorts are added on. So as I said, this year Lincolnshire, Birmingham and Manchester. I think the view is to increase cohorts in every local authority area at a stage we can. If we're not in your local authority area, as we're not in Derby at the moment, what I would say is you can access that SpringPod virtual work experience. We will have, I'll make our website obviously link available to us, and you can contact us about getting those virtual work experience links and starting from there. And then we will have conversations with the local authority to hopefully put in a cohort for you to transition onto in the future. But definitely, we're spreading about. They'll pop up in your area soon, I'm sure. Okay.
Is he on mute?
I'm on mute again. I apologize.
It's all right. I thought it was just my laptop for a second.
I keep turning on off because I've got the window open because I'm roasting now. And you can hear just the traffic coming by. Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to have a little look for the wee link to pop it into the chat just for the attendees?
Yes, absolutely.
So
I'll
have a wee,
yeah.
Abby
or Laura, do you mind doing that? Just popping it in just our website link if possible.
Perfect, amazing, because we are running out of time. But I will say before we finish here, have you got any final words of advice for our attendees who want to pursue something like this, or maybe just some words of advice to help them get a career?
Yeah, so what I would say is there are other options than, staring down the barrel of the college and university gun sometimes, and there are other options to just thinking, I've got to step out there and go into employment and worry about how I'm going to be supported while I'm there. Will I be able to achieve it? Will I get my dream job? We are that other option. Supported internships and work experience are a fabulous way to feel like you are doing it at your own pace, with the right guidance and support. and so that your needs are met. So I would encourage everybody to look forward and see the supported internships in your area. Hopefully it'll be us in your area, but please do reach out if it is of interest to you to get on the virtual work experience, or us to come to your college to talk more about how we can transition you onto a successful pathway.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you. Have you got any other words of advice?
My other words of advice, go for your dreams. Don't worry about the fact that you might not be qualified to do it. You will get there. You don't think that just because you don't have a certain qualification that you're never going to get there. You will get there. Hold on to what you have ambitions for yourself in the future. Absolutely. And again, I know I'm going to say this, but the NHS is a fantastic place to work. So if it is of interest to you at all, definitely pursue it. But absolutely, Abby said in the chat, knock on all of the doors and make sure that you pursue everything that you possibly can to get yourself in a job that you want to. Because at the end of the day, you need to be in a job that you love to want to stay in it and to have a lengthy career. So you need to do something that you really love. Amazing.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Big thank you to all the wonderful ladies who have joined from the NHS team and take you through their experiences that they have seen firsthand and shown the opportunities they've had to offer. Hope everyone here found it very insightful, gained some useful information, and would like to maybe get involved in something like this for themselves. Hope to see you on the next webinar, and hope everyone has a lovely afternoon. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Cheers.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.